Hi, I'm Melissa May, and this is Little Book of Confessions, a podcast about the stories we keep, the truths that shape us, and the messy, beautiful in between. What started as my journal turned into a space for raw conversations, anonymous confessions, and unfiltered reflections on life, work, identity, and everything we're not saying out loud. If you're figuring it out as you go, you're not alone. Let's confess, because some secrets deserve to be told. Trigger warning. Little Book of Confessions is a space for honest, unfiltered storytelling. Episodes may include discussions of trauma, mental health, abuse, sexual assault, addiction, self-harm, suicidal ideation, grief, identity struggles, and other sensitive or difficult subjects. Please take care while listening. Pause or skip episodes if you need to. Your well-being comes first. Today's topic, I'm going to give a trigger warning. It involves sexual assault, so if that's a topic that's sensitive to you, please feel free to skip. I'm going to share about when I was 17, going on 18. It was my senior year during finals week, and just to place you where I was at the time, my mom we had gone through this big thing because I was trying to get into college and had got accepted to all of these universities. I had graduated with I lettered in academia. I got an Army ROTC scholarship. I had done everything I could to really set myself up for success, and she refused to sign any of my papers. I was 17 when I graduated, so I really didn't have a choice to get financial aid or any type of assistance or even really sign the papers that needed to be signed. So I was in that mental state, but I was still trying to be strong. I was working at a diner as a waitress. I was going to enroll in community college and made plans for myself, but it was still a really hard time. And I had been dating this guy that I worked with at the diner, and he had gone to one of those schools, the Catholic boys' schools, those type. Yes. And I didn't really realize it at the time how toxic and dangerous, I'll say dangerous, that situation was, but friends with all of their friends, and some of my friends dated their friends, so we would always hang out and go to parties or, just go out and grab some food or do whatever. They were in a band, so we would listen to them play. But one night, and I'll actually read my journal entry from right after that, but one night something really terrible happened, and I look back on that night. I look back in my journals about what I wrote and what my state of mind was at the time. And then I look forward several months, another journal entry, and I look back it's been 7 years since this happened, and my heart breaks for me. But I'm just going to share my story because what I want to call attention to is that things happen to us. And sometimes we make up stories. Sometimes we do things to protect ourselves. Sometimes we're so unprotected in the world when we don't have a strong family unit or a sense of self yet, or when you just feel kind of beaten down by the world, that you just don't know how to conceptualize or place yourself within there. So anyways, I'm going to read this and then I'll read something else, but I'm sharing this out of vulnerability because I know a lot of women, we face this, and not just women, men go through this too, but I'm speaking from a woman's point of view, from a girl's point of view here. And I think it's important for us to talk about these things because they shape us and really affect us throughout our entire lives. So, okay, this journal entry, I wrote it in June. It's dated June 17th, 1998. All right, here we go. I'm sharing everything, even if it's hard for me to read this and it makes me want to cry and feel embarrassed, but I'm just going to share. Okay. I say, I'm going to write about this in my journal, and hopefully no one will read this, as my book is so fun to look through. So I was with this guy who is in the middle person on this page. There's a picture of him in there. At first, things were all good, and he'd page me all the time. Yes, I had a pager. At first, things were all good. Okay, here we go. And he'd page me all the time. But then we became physical, and only physical to the point where he wanted sex. He did poke and prod without my initial knowledge, and I stopped him and we went downhill from there. He wanted sex and I didn't feel ready. He made me feel like a piece of meat, just sex. I will admit that I thought about it, etc., but he didn't feel right. So we broke up, if you can even call it that. That night, I started talking to his friend, a mutual friend. It started out innocent with a cigarette on the deck, but we started talking about stuff and agreeing. I had a really good time. Then he says to me, let's go somewhere. He wouldn't tell me where because it's a surprise. So off we go. He takes me to a clearing where we listen to Dave Matthews Crash CD and we dance in the moonlight. We just danced for an undefinable amount of time. Not kissing, but just being. We went back to our friend's house and ended up hooking up. By this time, we were both so drunk, but still pretty reasonable. He told me beautiful things and tried to take care of me. We progressed pretty far as one can go. I didn't really plan for this to happen, but he didn't force me. He was trying to pull me into his fantasy world of no broken promises and lies. So I let myself go and I let myself believe. I lost my virginity to him in a protest against morals of relationships and the frustrations of desire, having to hold back because of society. If I feel right about something, then please do it. If not, then dip out, which is what I eventually did that night when I told him that I couldn't trust and that he's a liar. Maybe I was harsh and made him doubt himself, but I have so little trust for boys. The whole ordeal reminds me of Dave Matthews number 6. Tonight, let's be lovers, and tomorrow go back to being friends. Okay, like I read that and I am just like, it's like interesting because I can see how I'm trying to convince myself so much that that night meant something and that I meant something to him. But obviously, that was not the case. It took me a few months. I'm going to admit this too. He told me after that he wanted to be with me and he cared about me and he would ask me to come over. And it was just frankly really a horrible situation. And I tried to make sense of it. He was this rich kid from a really good family and Catholic, all that sort of thing. And I couldn't reconcile with the fact that that he had raped me, because what really happened that night is that he got me very drunk. He knew I was in a vulnerable place because of the breakup. And when we got back to our friend's house, I laid down on the couch and he just started assaulting me. And I write about this in more detail in my book because it's really hard for me to say out loud. And I won't go into all the details, but he was just very, very aggressive, very mean. And when I started yelling loudly for him to stop, he got up and threw a blanket on me and told me I didn't know what I was missing. The reason why I think I wrote this, because I really don't even remember writing that entry, is because I used to keep this journal and a couple of my friends had journals and we all journal together and scrapbook. And, it's this one right here and it's just filled with like so much stuff. I can share at some point, but I think I was embarrassed and ashamed. And if I needed to get the experience down, but I didn't know how to write it down. Like it's almost like it was coded. What I ended up finding out about this person from his friends much later on was that he did this before and he was known for doing this to girls. And there was one night, well, I then went to work after I worked at the diner. I went on to work at another place, a pizzeria, and he found out that I worked there. And then after I had broken off things with him to never see him again, he started stalking me and coming in. I'd have panic attacks. I had to have the manager remove him sometimes. I had to have people protect me from just any interactions. And I remember there was one night I was out, and I'll read to you this next thing that I wrote. This was in May 22nd, 1999, where I ran into him and he came up to me and asked if he could talk to me. And I think I had come to grip with what happened. I felt a lot stronger, and I said, sure, why not? Fine, I'll talk to you. And he pulled me to the side and he apologized to me for what he did. He acknowledged it. And, anyway, so I felt not crazy, because in these situations, people make you feel crazy. And then people also ask, well, why didn't you say anything or turn him in? But I think we all know the answer to that. I mean, where he comes from, where I come from, people don't believe women, and I didn't even believe myself. So I thought, well, how could other people believe me? But it slowly came out. So this is the thing I wrote after that encounter with him. Pardon me, excuse me for my very angsty teenage. Keep in mind, I was a 90s girl, but this is the poem that I wrote after that incident. It says, your image had grown so pasty white that night. Yes, I remember that night. I learned about the loss of innocence, of control, the loss of myself, and I let you touch me and talk to me, hold me like you cared. I even remember how we danced, my silver anklet lost in the grass, your lips on my mouth, searching me so intently. I remember saying no, but I was too weak to push you away, so I blamed myself and punished myself. I stayed with you for 7 months, how I died inside, but I did. I did get over you and was able to despise you, maybe even feel sorry for you. And when I saw you today, I cried for everything about me that you manipulated and mangled, and I cried because that died today, finally, finally. So that was a lot to go through. And sometimes we do tell ourselves lies to cope with the situation, but I always hope that we'll find the space, the therapy, the friends, the safe situations and people where we can come to terms and reconcile things, because we deserve to be able to walk around in this world without being scared of being taken advantage of or assaulted. But let's be honest, that's just what it is to be a woman these days. So I'll leave it at that. This was a big topic for me. And if you have anything that you would like to share, I'm always here for discussion. Even if you just want to, have a safe space to talk. Thank you so much for joining. Be safe out there. Thank you for listening to Little Book of Confessions. If something in this episode stirred something in you, good. That's what we're here for. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at melissamay.me. Until next time, keep writing your truth, and remember, some secrets deserve to be told.